Hello and very good evening to all our viewers. This is WION Wallet. I am Sumit Chaturvedi. Let's see what is making headlines in the world of business this evening. Korea tensions spook markets worldwide. Indian benchmark indices, Sensex and Nifty also ended the session and the week on a negative note today. Midterm economic survey projects downside risks to India's expected growth rate of 6.75 to 7.5% in current financial year. Uber former CEO Travis Kalanick has been sued by early investor and VC firm Benchmark. And WION meets Anny Divya, the youngest female commander of a Boeing 777 aircraft in the world. Straight to our top story, which is coming from Midterm Economic Survey of India. There were downside risks to India's projected growth of 6.75% to 7.5% growth in current financial year. Finance Ministry's Midterm Economic Survey said today in a guarded forecast, indicating that multiple pain points continue to hinder growth in the broader economy amid an uncertain fiscal outlook. The second part of Economic Survey for 2016 and 17, known as Midterm Economic Survey, which besides giving an overview of India's economy was also critical about ad hoc state-sponsored farm loan write-offs to deal with the rural distress. It also argued in favor of interest rate cuts to aid economic revival. The first part of the survey, presented in January this year, had projected that Indian economy would grow by 6.75 to 7.5% in 2017 and 18. The fiscal outlook for current financial year still uncertain, it said. While deflationary impulses continue to weigh on the economy, earlier this month, Reserve Bank of India, India's central bank, had cut the repo rate by 25 basis point or 0.25 percentage points to 6%, triggering hopes of a lower borrowing cost for households and the companies ahead of festival season. And talking about India's midterm economic survey, there are downside risks to 6.75% to 7.5% projected growth for the Indian economy. And Reserve Bank of India has overestimated inflation risks. That's what India's midterm economic survey also says. The repo rate is still above 25 to 75 basis points above neutral. That's what India's midterm economic survey also says. And the farm loan waivers will cut demand by 0.7% in the economy. That's another big observation coming from India's economic survey. The first part of the survey was presented in January this year, and today the midterm economic survey prepared by Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramaniam has been given. And first part had projected 6.75 to 7.5% economic growth for India. And Reserve Bank of India has just cut the repo rate by 0.25% to 6% this year. While this has been done keeping in mind the coming festival season demand. And staying with India news, India's largest state-run energy producer, ONGC, or Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, may sell bonds and take out loans of as much as $4 billion to pay for the purchase of government's $5.2 billion stake in Hindustan Petroleum and bankroll $4.4 billion of projects. India's largest explorer, ONGC, has $2 billion of cash on its books and long-term rating that's a notch above the government. The appetite for India's corporate debt is so strong that Hindustan Petroleum's $500 million offering in July attracted bids for 6 times the amount. Now, billionaire Anil Agrawal's Vedanta Resources last week sold 7-year dollar notes in its second $1 billion sale this year. Even so, the planned fundraising could weaken ONGC's credit profile at a time when earnings have been hit by the slump in global energy prices. The estimated cash flows of about 400 billion rupees this fiscal won't be enough to pay for the planned investments by ONGC, and that's why it is going for fresh fundraisings. So Indian explorer ONGC has planned big borrowings this year. It will raise $4 billion of bonds and loans. ONGC is India's largest energy producer, and funds have been needed to buy government stake in Hindustan Petroleum Corporation. So a big change happening in overall energy sector. ONGC has $2 billion of cash on its books. And another big news coming in at this moment, it is now learned that wife of Nawaz Sharif, the ousted Prime Minister of Pakistan, will be contesting special parliamentary elections. Kulsum Nawaz has filed papers for her candidacy. And we have Arsalan Bhatti who is joining us from Islamabad. He is the Bureau Chief of Pakistan. Well, good evening to you, Arsalan. I would like to first of all like to ask you, how do you see these developments happening in Pakistan?
First of all, I am in Lahore. I'm stationed at Lahore. I am from Dunia Television. The development in Lahore is latest is that instead of the seat which was vacated or disqualified by our former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, his wife, Mrs. Kulsum Nawaz, had filed his candidature or had filed her papers today in the Election Commission of Pakistan, Lahore office, or to contest by-polls in NA 120. This is the seat which was vacated after the disqualification of former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. This is the area belonged to Mr. Nawaz Sharif since 1985. He was winning the seat since 1985. This is not the new seat. The wife of the former Prime Minister, Mrs. Kulsum Nawaz, was very respected in that area. She always acts like an umbrella. Whenever the Pakistan Muslim League Noon, which is the ruling party now, had been in hot waters, she always brought them out from the hot waters. Not only, but she also. But she had also rescued the ruling party whenever and wherever it is needed. She is the best suitable candidate. Before that, his younger brother, who is the Chief Minister from Punjab, was the candidate. Later, several other names also came to limelight, but finally, the wife of ex-Prime Minister, Mrs. Kulsum Nawaz, will be the final candidate of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz to contest the by-polls, which is scheduled to be held on 17th of September this year. She is now the final candidate to be announced by the ruling party.
And Mr. Bhatti, do you see Kulsum Nawaz being the next Prime Minister of Pakistan?
Not at all. Not at all. Already the family of ex-Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has clearly stated that no one from the family would be elected as the next Prime Minister for the next 11 months tenure. He had already announced day after yesterday that he will be the not candidate, nor any family member will be the candidate for the Prime Minister's slot for the last 11 months. As already the general elections for Pakistan is due next year, 2018, in the 2018. Therefore, there is no question that she will be the Prime Minister. But there were pressures on the ruling party. Several senior leaders from the ruling party had been pressing the former Prime Minister that when the Kulsum Nawaz is elected and to the National Assembly, the lower house of the lawmaking in Pakistan, she should be declared as the Prime Minister. As the Prime Minister house, Mr. Nawaz Sharif will be sitting there and will take decisions more swiftly and more speedily instead of any other person. but this was not on, and the former Prime Minister did not like this decision or the suggestion. He simply refused to nominate or to be the next Prime Minister for the last 18 months, which is scheduled before the next general election.
And Mr. Bhatti, it was earlier reported, and now is it confirmed that all is not well between Sharif brothers?
No, there were all is well between the Sharif brothers. This is the story, but there is always a little bit differences on few family matters both the Sharifs had in the past. But that was the gone.
All right.
That was the past game. That was the past is the gone. Now they had no differences political nor the family matters. All family matters are resolved or have been resolved by the elders of the family. Now they are one, and they took decisions unanimously, and what their elders decide, rather the ex-Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif what decide, all the family members have to obey the decision and his what he said. All the family members hold their heads before him. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for getting us all these details and giving us such an important perspective. But moving back to news from the world of business, let's talk about aviation. And she will surely be called the superwoman in aviation industry. Anny Divya, female aviator, is making history for her tenacity to enter a male-dominated industry and for inspiring women that dreams do come true. Anny Divya is the youngest female commander of a Boeing 777 aircraft in the world and holds the high position with Air India. Many might wonder about Divya's secret to success. The young pilot shared her life story in an exclusive conversation with my colleague Pragya Jha in Mumbai. Listen to her.
What makes this woman the youngest pilot? Shed some light on that. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about your journey.
Okay, a few things here because I started also very early, and also God's been very kind that I've been in right place, right time. A lot of people do put an effort, and yeah, of course your hard work will help, and also I happen to be in right place, right time, I guess. I'm very thankful for all of it. Here, through it, I would also like to share an incident with you all. Initially, I would just go and ask everybody. I had nobody from aviation, from my family, or not even relatives, or nobody around in the city where I could go and ask, or they must have been people, but I don't know like anybody there who would guide me towards. So whomever I meet, I'll ask how to become pilot, how to become, and of course people gave me random answers. But one of my teacher, when I was in 9th class, he told me, Divya, where you want to be in life, you want to be like a pollen grain which will be placed with the wind wherever it takes you in place, or you want to be where you want to be. And I'm like, that's a thought-provoking. And I'm like, I want to be where I want to be. And I told him, I know where I want to be, but I don't know how. That's the time he told me, it's not important to know how. It's very important to know what you want to do and where you want to be. And that's the first step. So he gave me homework saying that you list out 10 things what you want to do in life. And I'm like really excited. Wow, I can do 10 things. He's like, yes. And that's when I made the list with the 10 things I want to do. I did most of it today. And the top of the list was pilot. I also studied BSc Aviation along with my flying. Then I did LLB because I think I like law profession also a lot. And then I also, I like singing, I like dancing like most of the other people. So I learned a bit of singing, bit into keyboard and a lot of forms of dance. So yeah, constantly learning a lot of things. I like learning. To start with, initially I was like so excited about the dream and to even know, oh, I can become a pilot. And initially I was also doing well in my 11th, 12th studies and all. I was doing quite well. So I was like high on all of it. Oh, I'm good with this. But then, initially when I went into the aviation, I was not aware of the subjects or things around I would face. I'm going to completely an unknown space for the first time. And I was not doing well initially. So that actually made me feel, oh, I was thinking I'm doing well, but here my journey starts all over again. There's a lot more to learn and this is the start. And there are a lot of things coming my way right now and I have to overcome them. So wherever I was making mistakes, I'm focusing on what is wrong, how do I correct it?
And staying with India news, former Aadhaar chairman Nandan Nilekani has asked regulatory bodies such as Reserve Bank of India, SEBI, which is Security and Exchange Board of India, and telecom regulator TRAI in India to collaborate through technology and address countries' economic issues arising out of information asymmetry. Nilekani has proposed that any company doing business in India should be obliged to give data back to the users who have contributed to it. This development assumes significance in India at a time when country has witnessed a spate of data leaks. TRAI has accused Apple of engaging in data colonization practice and being anti-consumer by not allowing customers to pass on details about pesky calls and unwanted messages to authorities as well as their mobile operators. All this will be looked into by Supreme Court, which has constituted a 9-judge bench to ascertain whether privacy is a fundamental right of an Indian citizen as well as the validity of Aadhaar in the light of privacy debate. And let's move on to global business stories. Benchmark, the Silicon Valley venture firm and early investor in Uber, has sued former CEO Travis Kalanick. In a Delaware Chancery Court filing, the suit alleges that Kalanick committed fraud, breach of contract and breach of fiduciary duty. Both Kalanick and Benchmark hold Uber board seats. Accusing Kalanick of being selfish by packing Uber's board with loyal allies, Benchmark alleges that ousted CEO broke the law by trying to pave the way for his own return. Reports have suggested that Kalanick has been telling people that he is Steve Jobs in IT sector and will be back at the helm if successful. The Benchmark lawsuit could kick Kalanick off the board of directors, making his return impossible. Much of the complaint revolves around a June 2016 decision that expanded the size of Uber's board from 8 to 11. The Kalanick was given the right to choose those seats. Kalanick eventually gave one of those to himself when he lost his CEO seat. The other two are still unfilled. Benchmark is claiming that it would never have given Kalanick the power to choose those seats if the team had been aware of the gender discrimination, sexual harassment and other misconduct. Uber has had a tumultuous 2017 after a former Uber employee wrote a story detailing sexual harassment and an environment that discriminates against women. The former US Attorney General Eric Holder oversaw an investigation into the company's culture. This ultimately led to a series of executive departures. So, the biggest story, global story of the day is that former Uber CEO Travis Kalanick has been sued in the US. The VC firm Benchmark, which was an early investor in Uber as well, has sued the former CEO of Uber. Benchmark was an early investor in Uber as well. The suit alleges that Kalanick of fraud, breach of contract and breach of fiduciary duty as well. Kalanick and Benchmark hold Uber board seats. And the lawsuit could kick Kalanick off the board. Kalanick is the former CEO of Uber who actually co-founded the company. Kalanick's return would be impossible if the suit succeeds. And the complaint revolves around a June 2016 decision that was regarding giving off board seat when the board was expanded from 8 to 11. And Singapore's economy has posted faster growth in the second quarter than previously estimated by the government as a recovery in global trade helped to buoy manufacturing. The GDP or gross domestic product of South Asian nation rose a seasonally adjusted and annualized 2.2% in the second quarter from the previous 3 months compared to the same period last year. The GDP rose 2.9% in the second quarter as one of Asia's most trade-dependent countries, Singapore, has benefited from a recovery in global trade since late last year, led by strong Chinese demand for electronics and other manufactured goods. The economy is likely to grow 2.5% in 2017, Prime Minister Leung said yesterday, a projection reiterated by Ministry of Trade and Industry. And electric car owners in Europe are earning money by putting power from their charged electric cars back into the grid. Car owners are earning as much as $1,500 a year by parking their vehicles and feeding excess power back into the grid. Trials in Denmark carried out by Nissan Motor and Italy's biggest utility ENEL showed how batteries inside electric cars could help balance supply and demand at times and provide a new revenue stream for those who own the vehicles. The tech linking vehicles to the grid marks another challenge for utilities already struggling to integrate wind and solar power into their distribution system, as the use of plug-in cars have really benefited them. And over to market segment, and where globally markets have spooked by North Korea and US tensions. The global markets have been falling since yesterday, including Indian markets. The benchmark indices ended the session today on the weak note and a negative note, with indices seeing big cuts in the day's trade. The Sensex closed down 317 points at 31,213, while Nifty ended lower by 109 points at 9,710. The market breadth was negative as 1,000 shares advanced today against a decline of 1,500 shares. So clearly the overall global markets have been really threatened and spooked by North Korea and US tensions. Overall, the investors have been feeling jittery over these tensions. So clearly not a good sign. While Indian markets from the last few weeks have been on an up spiral, they were under a bull spill. Now they are under, it looks like, in a bear kind of phase where they are coming down week after week. To talk more on markets, we are joined by A.K. Prabhakar from IDBI Capital. Good evening to you, Mr. Prabhakar. First of all, how do you see this overall trend now emerging going forward? Do you think the bad times or the right time for the market are here to stay?
Good evening. See, after the 31 weeks of rally, correction. Yes, the correction has been. Now we have corrected almost 3.5% this week compared to last week. Now, but we have to take many things. Market was creating a froth. It was easy making money, and market, when the froth builds up, a healthy correction will always settle down many things. So that is what has happened, and I think another 400, 500 points of correction, if it happens, will be healthy for markets. And now the banning of 331 stock by SEBI is the important thing, because if you see, the Nifty has corrected only 3.5%, but your mid-cap and small-cap index have corrected more than that. That means the overall market correction is now more deeper, and that is where the froth was building up. So it is healthy, and maybe next week also we will see, because next week we have a holiday, so it is a truncated week. We will see one more week of correction before any recovery can start.
And also, what should be a strategy of an investor in those times, Mr. Prabhakar? Because as we know that not every investor is aware about what should be done, because from the last many days, the markets were in a bull phase. They were going up and up. Now they're coming down. What should be the strategy of an investor? Should he hold the shares he already has? Should he sell some, or should he, clear the positions?
See, we are in a long-term bull market. So in bull market, the corrections are faster, deeper, and it is in a very short time period. So this correction can be even sharper than what it has happened. But you have to understand, in bull market you have to hold on to stock. In correction you have to buy, but it has to be quality company. Quality is the important rule we have to follow. If we are in quality companies, add more. If you don't want a quality company, please exit that company and get into quality companies.
All right, Mr. Prabhakar, also one more thing. Do you see that the trade happening in global markets over the next few weeks will be range bound because of these tensions? Or what are the major factors to be looked out for as far as the global markets are concerned? What are the main factors that should be looked out going forward?
See, geopolitical risk is a major concern. And liquidity is one more. And we have Fed meeting next month where what the Fed chairman will say is what market will be looking upon. But geopolitical tension, how much they both can get into the words of war is what everybody is watching, whether there will be any action. So once the time passes, then people will understand what is the strength, what is the weakness, and how much it will impact. But every global market has been rally, and the correction was much needed, and this global tension has given that correction.
All right. Thank you so much for talking to us, Mr. Prabhakar. And as we saw today, all global markets were in a downward spiral. They have been spooked by North Korea tensions. Markets across the globe, including Hong Kong, including Japan, London, Germany, everywhere the markets are in red territory. Indian markets also came down heavily. Sensex was down 300 points, while Nifty was also down because of the North Korea tensions. It is yet not clear what will happen to markets going forward, because markets, they don't know what is going to happen there. There's no big positive outlook also going forward. Well, that's all today we have in this edition of WION Wallet. For more news and updates, stay tuned to WION, and thanks for watching us.